Well, hello and welcome to Gardening with Granny. This is the mid-June garden walk, and I am so excited to show you several things that we've been working on so hard. And recently my husband trimmed these beautiful forsythia bushes. I'm going to turn you around so you can see all of what we've accomplished so far. So these forsythia bushes are about 40 years old, and when we started to work with them, we decided to shape them into 2 baskets, and we had a lot of fun with that. I will check to see if I can find some old pictures, but we used to dress these up at Easter with a bunny and Easter eggs and all kinds of great things. They were plastic and they were huge and they were so much fun. So around the bend, this is the entrance garden, and we have been working very hard on this, putting down, first of all, weeding it, then putting down mulch, and then finally planting and having it look like this. So we're pretty excited about the way it looks. And it is now, as you can tell, I'm at the edge where the road noise is pretty rough, but I hope you can hear me anyway. We're going to go around the edge here. I have some perennials that have been planted. I've got daisies that are just about ready to open. They're looking pretty lovely. And then the mums, and intertwined are echinacea and some black-eyed Susan. So we'll see how this bed develops. I may have to put more plants in, but right now I'm pretty excited the way it looks. So at the right of our drive, this is what most people look for when they're trying to find my home, is this carved heron that my son Michael carved. We had lovely iris about a week ago, and we got that warm weather, and so the iris didn't quite make it. They didn't last long. Still got some hangers in there. I love those. But this was sculpted by my son in 1995, my adult son that lives in Boston. It's in a bit of disrepair right now. It needs to be, well, sanded and then refinished, but I still love it. It was one year we were on vacation, and the base of it had rotted, and so it was laying on the ground and we decided to save it. We hired somebody to come, and they put the structure on this, I'm not sure if it's wood or metal or what. He did a great job. He reamed out the inside of the base, and it now fits on this structure, and it's not going anywhere. In this garden this is a very shady garden that has some shade-loving plants in it. You can see I've got that bright heuchera there, which I put in last year, and it's doing really very well. This garden did not have water most of last year and the beginning part of this year. We had a new line put in, and my husband's been working with getting water to this garden, and now we have it. So we've got some lilies coming, and forgot what this was. Maybe I'll post it. And so most of these plants, I'm not familiar with their name. And if you know what they are, please tell me in the description below. These are lime heuchera, and they're not proven winter, but they're very pretty anyway. This grass has been here for, well, let's see, he built it in 1995. I was putting the garden together in, I would say late 1990, so 1998 through now. So they've done pretty good. Yeah, they do spread, but I pull up the ones, and then very early in the spring, I take out the dried grass and I lay it down, sort of like mulching it. And I'm going to probably show you this lily when it blooms in the end of June. So now next to that is Jessica's tree. I've gone over Jessica's tree in several videos. It's one that I absolutely love. Love her too, of course, but I love the color next to this pine. Just so gorgeous. And right now it is creating these little, we used to call them helicopters. You know, maples create these little helicopter things and spread the love. But it is such a delight to see when the sun comes through the colors of this gorgeous, gorgeous tree. Very, very pleased with it. Been here 26 years. And I've enjoyed so much. And give you perspective of how big these trees are. They are pretty enormous. Those are poplar tulip trees, and this is a white pine. Lots of shade given off by these trees. There's our cherry tree I've talked about before. We put in this hibiscus, excuse me, perennial hibiscus yesterday, so we're still working on that. Some of the surprises are now going to be reviewed. I have gladiolas coming in. I planted them earlier this spring, and I'm glad to see that they're popping up and doing really well. We had a little problem with this last year because we caught, let me see, 2 groundhog, 2 possum, and a raccoon. So luckily no animals this year. This is the goji berry bush that is coming along. This is where we're going to plant 2 standard elderberries, so that this one, this black lace elderberry, will cross-pollinate, and we will have edible elderberry. But look at the blooms on this. They're just gorgeous. So incredible. Such a lovely shade of pink. Just very pleased. This bush has been here in this location for, this is its 3rd year. These hostas have been here for at least 30 years. And we have some clematis. Some people call it clematis, but I've always heard it clematis. They're doing just beautifully. They will fill that good 8 feet of that fence area. There's another one growing in here. I think that's a light pink. So I'm lucky enough to have a neighbor that enjoys gardening as well. And between the two of us, we keep this area very pretty. These are the tomatoes, and they almost all have blossoms on them. But we do live in Michigan and have to recognize that even blossoms this early is a gift. 2 pepper plants, more tomatoes over here. So in giving you a respective view of what happens when you drive in to our house. There you go. Tree lined. It used to be more tree lined. We lost some of them. Before we go on to the tomatoes, I just want to show you the cherry tree. Because of all the days we did not have rain, did not have a watering system. It was almost 2 weeks before we finally got our water system. We water from the lake, and it broke. The line broke, and we hired somebody, and it was a good 2 weeks before we could get water. So the cherries are pretty small. They normally are twice as big as this before they start turning ripe. And I've noticed that there's a robin that wants to keep eating the cherries, so we'll see how much we'll be able to harvest out of this tree. So here's the second bed. This one has fennel running down the middle. The other had dill. These I planted before I planted the other one, and some of these are pretty big. But yet again, still, I haven't seen any tomato forming yet. Well, maybe. Nope. Just blooms right now. And we got a cucumber. I've had some halfway decent success. This is my 3rd cucumber plant that's growing in this area. And it looks like this one is finally taking. You may have caught the video of me covering the cabbages, try to protect them from the cabbage moths. This is where we planted green beans and the leeks. And you can see this is the first planting of green beans, so I sort of have a succession. And that'll be good because there'll be the 2 of us and be able to keep up with the growth of these and eating, so we don't have green beans every night. And then by the time these green beans harvest, I can freeze them. Across the way are 2 tomatoes growing in a grow pot. There's zucchini coming along nicely. This rain we've had the last couple of days has been extremely beneficial. Made it a little difficult for us to get out here and do some work in the garden, but I'm sure the plants appreciate that. So here we are at the turn of the drive where you will go into the circle to make your turnaround. And there's the bush I love and the triangle garden. We'll get to those. But first, let's check out this variegated willow. So this is the variegated willow, and in the spring, you can really tell variegation, and the tips become this bright coral. Just absolutely stunning. And when the wind blows, it's just so graceful and actually calming. This is a beautiful bush. but I have to get in there and hack it down after the or peach or whatever you call coral tips go away. I usually get in there and take a good 1.5 to 2 feet off of the bush just to control it, because otherwise it would be too big for me to control. Behind it is a gifted maple. This was given to us by birds that planted it. It is the second tree on our property that was given to us by birds. It's kind of a funny thing. The peonies are just about done. Unfortunately, they're gonna need a good trimming to keep the fungus away. But they were gorgeous, they smelled beautiful, and I'm very happy to have these. Again, must be 30 years that they've been in this area. This year I planted some gladiolas in this pot and the mallow. Deep purple salvia I just put in this year. Had some volunteer snapdragons that are showing up. But I'll tell you, the difference between a proven winner plant and just your regular one is pretty obvious when you start gardening. Now I put in, you saw the beginning garden, the entrance garden with the proven winner bubble gum and the mini vista yellow. I put in petunias here, and the difference is that if you do not deadhead regular petunias, they stop flowering. And I just deadheaded these this morning because I want them to bloom again. These were the deep purple and yellow star petunias, and they were lovely when they first came out, but unless I get in there and every other week deadhead, I won't have blooms. So to me, proven winners may be expensive, but they're worth it. So let's check behind the peonies and see how our gladiolas are doing. They are growing. They'd be about knee-high for me. I'm 5'2", but this is exciting that we're going to have gladiolas coming up this wall. Be beautiful. Take a look at our herb garden. The potatoes are doing fabulous. They are not blooming yet, but they probably will bloom pretty soon. I see something budding up there. And once the blooms form, then the tubers, the potatoes, start to form. My buddleia is coming back. Yay! Very excited about that. Had a chance to kind of get in here, clean up. The sage is still in bloom. This is I'll put a name on the on the description. Okay, this is daisies. They are starting to open. They're very similar to the daisies up front in the entrance garden. The comfrey, I've been hacking away at this, and it looks like there is a little bee that is just enjoying the daylights out of that. And those are peonies that have been here, I would say 30 years. And I've never separated them. I've never done anything with them. I do fertilize them every once in a while. They are very neglected. This garden is probably the last garden that I tend to, because there's so much to do in the beginning of spring, as everybody knows. So I have yarrow coming through here, this self-seeded, some lemon balm. I hacked away at that and did some freeze drying of lemon balm. Got tansy. I don't know if you've ever seen but I did a video on tansy and the benefits of it. That's horseradish back there. And of course the chives, the blossoms, I have picked at this, and the blossoms are still hanging in there. I made chive vinegar, and I did a video on that. These are garlic chives. When they bloom, you definitely want to cut off their blooms because you will have garlic chives everywhere. There's a nasturtium. My sweet William came back from last year. I put in this beautiful ivy to hang over the side. We created, we took this barbecue and decided to make a planter out of it because we don't do gas barbecuing anymore. And in this pot, I have some helichrysum. Now, helichrysum is different. There's so many different varieties of helichrysum, but traditionally it's this kind of bluish, greenish, sagey look to it, and it sometimes has a licorice scent to it, but it is beautiful. I'm very pleased with that. There's our juniper. Now, I did a video on juniper. The juniper berries are used in gin, but juniper itself is a great diuretic. And we've had to severely cut this back. Sometimes it recovers, some areas did not recover. But all in all, that tree or that bush is at least 40 years old. It may be 50 years old. I think it was here when we moved in. And there's our grape arbor. And the grapes are doing really good. I'm very pleased. I'm going to have a nice harvest of grapes. Time to trim the runners. And again, these are proven winners. Purple Star, I think they're called. But they've been in here. I've never had a deadhead, and they keep blooming. Very pleased with them. Over here is the milkweed patch, and that's to help the monarchs. They have a, they enjoy laying their eggs on these, and that keeps them going. We have ivy. And in here is some squash. You'll see my squash plant there. So we're at the front of my garage now, so you can have a perspective of the distance of the driveway and the circular drive, the beautiful bush, and now this garden area here. So there's mums, all kinds of beautiful things, and some more to plant. Peonies are done. This was the primrose garden. You can still see the greenery from primrose. And the watermelon coleus with the fuchsia petunias. And that's flushing in. Another year, and this hydrangea has decided not to bloom. And that's okay. The Lenten roses are resting now. A few of them still have their older leaves, so hellebores are really a wonderful plant. They're first to greet you in spring, and just such a great plant. I love it. And we're going to have These daylilies will be bright yellow, probably the end of June. So that'll be the next tour. I planted some hollyhocks, some canna lilies. I've got that hollyhock yet to plant. That was from our winter sowing. I always catch on the name of that, Colocabor or something or other. And some of the pansies still trying to hang in there. So this is, gardening. It's a process. So that's it for today. See this is my entrance, and so you saw the entrance driveway, and this is the outer entrance to my home. So we're home at last.